Very good. This is the Tri-Town meeting for Wednesday, December 9th, 2020. A couple of things as we get started. Following one of their meetings a couple of weeks ago, the Stowe Town Administrator contacted our Town Administrator, Don Lowe, and let him know that the Board of Selectmen from Stowe will not be participating in tonight's meeting, rather. And then yesterday we got an email from the school committee, which I will read. They will not be attending today, but the letter begins, "Dear members of the Tri-Town Committee, in a letter to the school committee dated November 30, 2020, the Bolton Board of Selectmen offered their perspective and feedback on future participation in Tri-Town meetings. Included in that was the stated assumption that the school committee would participate in the December 9, 2020 Tri-Town meeting. The school committee met on December 2nd, 2020 to deliberate, and while we had a rich discussion, we felt we needed more time to continue the conversation on a later date. Open parentheses, likely our next meeting on December 16, 2020, but that agenda is not finalized yet, close quotes. Therefore, we agreed to respectfully decline participation in the December 9, 2020 Tri-Town meeting. Individuals, of course, are always welcome to attend as residents. During our discussion, there was general agreement that the purpose of Tri-Town was sharing of information and communication, and we agreed those are worthy goals. We discussed other venues for potentially advancing those goals during this interim period, including meetings within our specific towns, meetings between town administrators and school district personnel, and informal one-on-one communication with individual members of various boards. We will continue to work diligently to chart a path through this global pandemic. I hope that over time we can forge stronger relationships built solidly on mutual respect. Please understand that we share your commitment to the betterment of our towns and their residents' lives. Sincerely, Elaine Sanfilippo, Vice Chairman, Neshoba Regional School Committee." And then there's a note at the bottom that says, "To clarify why I am sending this message, Kathy Codian, our chairperson, was not in attendance at the 12-2 meeting. I moderated the Tri-Town discussion, and thus I am providing the response." And that's the end of the letter. So the school committee will not be participating tonight. First on our agenda is an update and discussion on squad car drivers for EMT cadets. Jason, you put this on the, asked for this to be put on the agenda. Could you want to provide an introduction?
Yeah, so we've talked about it in the past, and the EMT squad car is a program that's been around for decades, I believe, and it empowers basically high school students to learn a lot about the EMT program. And as we talked about in last meeting, I guess it's hit a little bit of a roadblock, and you know, they're not able to find the, I don't want to call them chauffeurs, it's the chaperones that will go with the high school students when they go to a call. So I'm trying to figure out how to keep that program going. It's my understanding that I think we all want that. So I've just been trying to reach out, trying to understand where we are, the things we have, the things we need. And I wanted to give an update to the team here and talk about, you know, what I found out, what I'm still trying to get, and what options we have to going forward. Because I worry that that we're at a point, at an impasse, where if we're not proactive and figure out how to solve it, it's just going to go away. And I don't think anyone wants that. So I reached out to the school committee on, I think it was November 18th, for a few pieces of information. Basically, what I want to know is what are all of the investments that we, the Tri-Town, have made to make this program a reality. And based on the information we talked about last meeting, I wanted to understand which was true and which was not true with regard to job descriptions and union contracts and that sort of information. So what I asked is, you know, is the school district going to continue to support the program? And the answer for the school district is yes, we want to support the program. The second question is, you know, what were the union contracts for all the staff who participated in this program? So I got the I got the union contracts, and I went through the union contracts, and there's no mention of participating. Being part of their role as part of the union contract would be to take on this role of a chaperone. So that was unfortunate. And then the last item is what were the list of staff that were trained on the defensive driving for this role? Um, and basically the defensive driving, as I understand it, is it's a class that's taken by the people who are the chaperones who are going to participate, and that's something that we as a town, we as a tri-town have paid for, and I wanted to understand who those folks were, and how many were there, and if what were there, were there any other job descriptions in that mix. I haven't gotten that information yet. I was directed to the Neshoba Regional School District Administrative Assistant, and I sent an email to them last week. I have not heard back yet, but what the hope is there is there'll be a decent amount of people in different roles that may be able to continue with this program. But going through the correspondence back and forth with the school committee and understanding some of the history, it sounds like the school district's position is that there will not be, and I don't want to speak for them, but they're not here, and I'll convey what I know, which that's explained to me, which is there is not somebody volunteering, and there is not a role, and what this school district is advising us is to use the SRO, the school resource officer, in that role. And as the chief discussed last week, that's not desirable. In addition, the only other option that we're aware of is to pay additional fees. I think a shift differential or something like that for somebody who's actively working to participate in this role. So I've really tried to kind of go down really deep and understand, what is the commitment, the previous commitment made from the school district. It sounds like it was verbal. There was nothing written in the job descriptions that I have found, and nothing in union contracts that would make this part of somebody's role. So it sounds like we're not in the best spot. I wanted to share that information with the team here and to understand, what steps we want to take or how we want to approach this. So that's what I have.
So, Mr. Chairman, if I may,
Sure.
Jason, there's a lot there that's not accurate. I've been directly involved with this as our fire chief. School district knows perfectly well that this is not something for the SRO. I've made that perfectly clear to the superintendent, as has the chief. But, and as I explained to the superintendent, the SRO is at the high school for safety of the students and the staff. And it would make literally no sense if we had the SRO, if we had a police officer out driving the cadet vehicle and we had an incident happen at the high school that the police officer is supposed to be there for to handle. So that's been made perfectly clear, and I don't understand why there's even any confusion about that. Second of all, the school's commitment is in writing, and it's in the MOA that has been provided to everybody. And the school's commitment is simply to provide an adult driver. Doesn't have to be a custodian, hasn't always been a custodian. It was somebody else prior to a custodian. And we've known that this is a problem for a year. I knew a year ago because the superintendent told me. It's a year later and the problem hadn't been solved. And quite some time ago, our fire chief proposed that if the school district was no longer able to, for whatever reason, provide an adult driver in the form of a custodian, that one of the options would be that we have another person, another function provided, and perhaps we bring in a new employee to do that. And Chief Legendre put that on the table 2-3 months ago. A little over 2 weeks ago, I got an email from the superintendent saying that the concept of someone working for in the school, for the school, a new position, be funded and filled, and that hopefully that would solve the problem, which it would, because the fire chief originally said, if you provide the person or fund the person, he will train them, schedule them, provide them, provide whatever is needed to maintain the position. The superintendent told me in an email 2 weeks ago, a little over 2 weeks ago, that she was pursuing that, and that she had taken it up with the union to establish whether or not the union would require it be a union position. And I'm not going to comment on that other than it would make no sense to me. So that was about, I'd say 15 days ago. I've not heard back yet. So as of, so the last, yes.
No, please keep going. I'm sorry.
Oh, so, but there's been quite a bit pursued here. It just hasn't been in public. So the proposal that's on the table right now, which is still open, is that there be a position which a job description would be agreed upon between our fire chief and the high school principal, and then we would look to fill it. Filling it would be the easy part, because we already know that there are firefighters / EMTs who are either recently retired or about to retire that would be very interested in fulfilling that. And so we could actually have a qualified, trained firefighter or EMT stationed at the school, ready to respond for a call. And if any other situation arose at the school, we would have a benefit of trained personnel there in case there was a medical incident. So so that's an option that is very interesting to us. But again, I don't have an update on that.
So quick question, Don. I just want to make sure we're clear. So about 15 days ago, you got an email from the superintendent, which explained that they are looking to fill the role, create a new role, new job description, and fund that and make that how we solve this issue.
Yes.
Yeah, I was not aware of that. I wish I was.
I wish you were too.
So Don, is that proposal a new position for 35 hours a week, or?
It would be a position that would be funded by, it wouldn't be 35, well, I don't know if it would be 35 hours, Jonathan. It would be for when school is in session. I'm thinking roughly 8 to 2:30, something like that. So whatever the math is times 5. So yeah, I guess it would be pretty close. It would be, I think it would not be a benefited position. I would see it as a per diem position, because the rate would be conceptually at what a substitute teacher makes, which is not a benefited position because it's not steady. So we could have a rotation of people in it. It wouldn't necessarily be one person. We could have a stable of people that would perform it.
So
But I wouldn't view it as a benefited position.
Okay, what is the substitute teacher per diem? Do you know?
The superintendent, or I forget if it was the superintendent or the school committee person I met. So I want to be clear. I'm not sure which one said it to me. I believe it was $85 a day. That's in the neighborhood if it's not exact, but
Okay.
I think it was Amy that said that to me actually, but I think she was trying to remember.
Don, another question from the clerical question. So you mentioned that there was an MOU that describes that, and I think you said that we had that. I may have missed that, or I'm not looking in the right place. Which MOU is that?
Yeah, I'd be happy to send that to you, Jason. Yeah, it's an MOA between the town and the school district. It's several pages long. It outlines the many responsibilities for both parties, of which providing adult drivers is one.
So was that collectively bargained, that MOA?
No, it's got nothing to do with the union. It's between the town of Bolton and the school district.
Okay. Yeah, I would love to have that. Yeah, I apologize for not having that information. I think I could have saved a lot of time. Do you know?
If you have any other questions, Jason, please feel free to reach out to me.
Okay. One quick question. So if they're going to create a new role, does that need to be discussed with the school committee, or can the school district just do that on their own?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. So
if the school district does create this new role, does that need to be discussed with the school committee, or can they do that on their own?
I don't know what that level of detail would be. We haven't created a joint position like that before. So I don't want to presume to answer that, but we've got 22 days to figure it out.
Any other comments?
No, my apologies. I had to step out for a moment, but we've had this program in Bolton for a long time, and we've had no problems until a year ago. So the district needs to step up. This is really not an acceptable position, and the fact that Don has been working on this and trying to get an answer out of the district now for almost a year is definitely not acceptable. And they're putting this whole program in jeopardy. So I think the district needs to step up.
Mr.
Hi,
Chairman.
Jason. How does somebody get recognized to speak?
Oh, First off, I would like people to put their names up. We have a couple people who are anonymous, Nova Fire and someone. Beyond that, I'm kind of looking at the videos. Is Jenny, can you unmute yourself so I can ask a question? If people raise their hand, where do I see that on my screen, or do you only see that on your screen?
You can also see it if you have the participants tab open. Right now, we have one person with a hand up.
All right. All right, I'm going to need some help with that, because if I open the participant window, there's 34 names on there, but I probably only see 20 at a time.
Yep, the hands should come to the top right under your name, but I'm happy to
Okay.
monitor that for you.
All right,
Do you
well,
wanna
I'll watch for that then. So
item, and I can tell you whose hands are up.
I only see one right now. Is that correct?
Yep, that's correct.
Okay, so for participants, if you want to raise your hand, you go to the bottom of your screen to the participants icon and open that up. And there's at the bottom right, if you're on a desktop computer, it says raise hand, and you can recognize it. You can be recognized that way. We're not requiring the selectmen and the town administrators to go through that effort, though. But we may.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
just to respond to the question that was in chat, Bolton is not dependent on the cadets to provide cover for medical calls. This is a highly popular, successful program that's been part of the Neshoba Regional School District curriculum for 32 years. It has provided invaluable training for many students who have gone on to the medical professions of different types. I know there's been some comments made out there that the reason why the Bolton selectmen are interested in this is because the town is trying to save money to provide medical coverage, which could not be further from the truth. And quite honestly, anybody who is saying that should stop saying it, because it's simply not true.
All right, thank you for clarifying that, Don. Any other questions, any other comments or questions from the selectmen?
Nope.
Mr. Eckel, would you like to address the group?
Sure. Rich Eckel, 53 Adams Drive in Stowe, Massachusetts. Well, Massachusetts, obviously. I am a school committee member, but I'm here in my own capacity. And I had a couple questions about the cadet program, just in terms of how it operates with regard to the town of Bolton. So, Don, doesn't the ambulance generate revenue for the town?
Of course it does.
And how much does that generate in a year? Roughly about $150,000?
It's probably in that neighborhood.
Okay. And how many full-time firefighters are on during the day?
2,
Who, the chief and one other full-time firefighter?
yes.
And so if the chief's not able to respond because he's got other chief duties, that other firefighter can roll the ambulance out, correct? By himself?
No, one person won't roll an ambulance on their own.
Okay.
I would also question what the chief has to do that's more important than responding to an emergency.
Well, I was on the finance committee before I was on the school committee, and spent a lot of time looking at that budget and trying to understand it. And it's quite common for the chief not to respond because they're typically in lots of other meetings all day, every day. At least
Not in
the
our town. In our town, the chief is a working chief and he responds to most calls.
Okay, so perhaps I didn't understand the difference. I mean, our chief goes to calls too, but it doesn't seem like as often as perhaps your chief is. Okay, I was just wondering because my understanding is that you need to have 2 EMTs to transport a patient. That's the state.
correct.
That's the state law, right?
That's correct.
So if you, I was told that you need in order for the ambulance to generate revenue, you got to have 2 EMTs that could transfer the patient to the hospital. So I just was curious how dependent you were on the EMT cadets to help with that, or if it was supplemental. And it sounds like from what I hear from you, it's supplemental. Is that right?
It is supplemental. We can roll without the cadets. What's at risk here is not the ability of the town of Bolton to provide proper ambulance service to our residents. What's at risk here, again, is a highly successful program that benefits. Well, right now there are 30 kids in the program, and if I remember correctly, I think 7 of them come from Stowe. No, more than 7 come from Stowe. I think it's closer to 10 now that I think about it. So no, this is part of the curriculum, and it's a huge benefit. It's a draw for people to come to Neshoba for this. So it's extraordinarily beneficial to the kids. It's beneficial to the town. It's beneficial to everybody who's involved.
Now,
Okay,
I'd like to add that Bolton's able to support this program to the extent that we've added additional capability in terms of advanced life support with additional equipment and additional personnel. So although we only have 2 people in a moment's notice ready to start the ambulance, it's normal practice for other EMTs to meet at the accident site or whatever location is required.
Yeah.
Personnel
Yeah, so-
is not an issue here.
I'm glad you
Okay.
said that, Bob, because there's a couple other points there. One is the drivers currently, well, the way it's always worked, the drivers only go to 2 locations. They either go to the public safety building or they go to the accident scene. And one of the other pieces of misinformation I've learned that's been out in public is that the problem is that the car driver needs to go to calls on 495, and that's absolutely not true. The custodians have never gone to a call on Route 495. It's too dangerous a situation. They would go to the public safety building and drop the cadets off there. Also, again, responding to a call, if Bolton didn't have the cadet EMT program, or if the district didn't have the cadet EMT program, and we only had 1 person on call or 1 person at the fire station, we would do what we do off hours. You know, the other 16 hours of the day, we would tone out. We have we have call ambulance people. They would come in and we would tone out the call. And the second we have the second person in, then we would roll. And if we don't have the second person in a number of minutes, I think it's 6 minutes, then we would tone it out to supplemental ambulance service that would be dispatched immediately.
Yeah, I would, and just want to expand, when we say it's not correct for the drivers to go on 495, that's the drivers. Whenever something happens on 495, even if there's no fire involved, a fire truck goes along with the ambulance and any EMTs, and that fire truck is there solely to be parked behind all the people who are in the active area and act as a buffer from any oncoming traffic.
That's right.
That's a routine part of our practice. That fire truck goes out solely for that purpose, whether or not there's a danger of fire or not. So I want to emphasize that it's the issue of the driver driving on 495 in heavy traffic, possibly with traffic backed up, and it's not a matter of safety to the students or the driver themselves. It's the act of driving on 495 under those conditions that's the issue.
That's
So Yeah, so I understand you guys invested in ALS, but that's not because of the EMT program. That's because your ALS provider could no longer work with you guys and you had to do that, right?
We didn't have to do it. We
Another-
chose to do it. We could have gotten our ALS service elsewhere, but we chose to do it ourselves. And we're also providing support to Harvard and to the eastern part of Lancaster.
Oh, that's great. And one last question. You know, I agree there's a lot of benefit to the EMT cadets, but they're not dependent on the Bolton EMS to get their training, right? I mean, it's a great opportunity. They're at school, they can participate, but they could go elsewhere if they needed to. Is that right, to get this kind of training or the practical?
Well, theoretically, you can find that training in a few different places, but we certainly provide the practical, and we provide a lot more than the practical. We provide all the training leading up for people to be eligible for the practical.
That's not done by the school in the EMT program?
No, it's done in our EMT program that we're trying to save. It's not done by the school. It's done by instructors that are employed by the town of Bolton.
So they come in and do some supplemental training that they wouldn't get through the EMT program in the school?
There is no EMT program in the school. None. It's all provided by the town of Bolton and its instructors.
Folks, I think we're getting a little off field here.
No. This is a big distinction here. If there's the impression that the school is already providing an EMT program and Bolton's just benefiting off of that, we need to clarify that.
Well, that's
Yeah,
true. That's true. That's true. It's Bolton that's providing this. It's not the school.
So you guys pay for the instructors to instruct the students, is that right?
There is a budget which Bolton funds a portion of and the school district funds a portion of.
Do you know what the breakdown is?
Off the top of my head, no.
Okay,
But none of this instruction is done at the school.
okay, that's good to know.
It's done at the public safety building, Don?
That's right.
Okay. So it's strictly an off-campus activity then?
Yes.
My understanding is it's a little bit like a sport or a club, right? You could do this and you do that after school, is that right? I mean, it happens during the day, but it's kind of like an extracurricular activity, right?
I don't know that we,
I wouldn't call it an extracurricular activity. No, I don't think that's a fair statement.
It's not, you get certified by a separate body. It's not, they don't get graded on it, right? It's something that they get certified on by the state, and you guys facilitate that, is that right? And it just happens at the school.
It doesn't happen at the school. I don't know how many times I have to say it.
it doesn't go on their record at the school, does it?
No, it doesn't.
So
Okay.
It's not a school activity.
Somebody's saying yes, it does, but I guess I'm still trying to learn about it. I think it's a great program. I support it. I just know that when I have discussed with EMS folks in Stowe, you know, I don't believe any of the EMS folks have ended up on the Stowe fire department or in the Stowe EMS. So, you know, like we're told that there's a huge benefit for Stowe, and I guess I don't quite see it. I think that it's a great benefit for the 11 kids that are in the program for Stowe, and I'm generally for it. But I'm just confused when I'm told that this is like a huge benefit for all three towns. When it
I never
sounds like
said it was a huge benefit for all three towns. I said it's a huge benefit for those who participate in it. They become doctors, nurses, some of them paramedics. It provides a basis for them to succeed in life. It's never meant to be a supplemental, a feeder system for a fire department or an ambulance department. That's not why it exists.
that's the primary reason it was started, actually. But
Well, I know that, Rich.
Maybe it's
32 years
changed now.
ago- 32 years ago, things have evolved.
okay, thanks for clarifying for me. I appreciate it.
Any other comments or questions? Nova Fire? You have your hand up?
Unmute. Hi, this is Stephanie Hilliger, and I am the advisor at the high school for the EMT program. And I was interested in attending tonight just to hear a little bit more about the driving situation. And I'm sorry it says Nova Fire. That is my home network.
Okay.
So that's, I'm not trying to hide anything. It's just the name of my home
No, I
network.
appreciate it. Could you just tell us what town you're in?
Sure, I'm in Lancaster.
Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. So I wanted to clarify a couple of things. This program was started over 32 years ago. It did begin with the support of the town of Bolton, who had a need for daytime ambulance folks to help the town because it was a call department long before it had paid firefighters on staff. Since then, it's evolved. And I would like to let Mr. Eckel know that it is indeed a class. Students receive 4 credits per year. The classes are 7 hours a week beyond the school day for year 1 students, and year 2, 3 students, it is 3 hours beyond the school day plus their time on call, which during a typical year, and this is not a typical year, during a typical year is 7:15 until 5 p.m. And that is every school day of the year. Did you have any other questions for me? And Jason, by the way, I did not respond to you because Kathy Codian told me that she was responding to you, so there was no need to duplicate efforts.
Okay, thank you for letting me know.
You're welcome. I think it's important to remember too, the program is overseen by the Office of Emergency Management, and the instructors are trained instructors. Our year 1 instructor is also the fire chief of Devens, and our year 2, 3 instructors are also not only Bolton EMS members, but also I know, for example, one of them works for MIFA. The level of expertise and practical experience that they bring to the students is unparalleled. It goes far beyond the regular school day. Currently, students in the remote situation are only on call from 7:30 to 3:30, and they do their remote learning at the Bolton Public Safety Building. After school, which ends at 2:40, they've been really, really fortunate in that the chief takes the extra time to provide extra training to them. This training is not a school-based training. This is real life OEMS. They go to classes alongside people who want to be EMTs in their towns, adults, as they all have to be EMT firefighters now. They go to school with the adults and they do all of the same skills, tests. They have all the same knowledge of any other EMT in the state of Massachusetts. And in fact, some of them are nationally certified.
Excellent. Thank you.
You're
Thank you.
welcome.
Thank
And
you,
I
Steph.
just want to add that my son participated in the program when he was in high school, and it was absolutely fabulous.
And beyond what town you're from, there are many times that participation in this program, which is noted in every single letter of recommendation that goes to every single college application that these students apply to, that can be the difference between a select program at a college and not getting into a select program at college. For example, the School of Nursing at pick a school, because they see that extra, those extra classes, that extra commitment to the medical field, and they want that student.
And just to add one other thing, EMT does show up on the students' transcripts.
Yes, it does.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Now, that's helpful to know. I appreciate that. I mean, I'm still learning about it. And I don't think anybody is disputing the benefit of the program. It's just who should be supporting the cost. And now they have a better idea of the benefits and how it works. It's just helpful to know. I'd love it if you came to the school committee to present, frankly. So thank you.
I appreciate the invitation, but if you really want to know about it, I'll bring the students because they will rock you. They are amazing, and it's my honor and my privilege to be their advisor.
We had people from the deputy commissioner for DPH on down at a meeting at the high school 3 years ago when there was question about whether or not the waiver was going to be renewed, that Kate Hogan and I helped organize, among others. And 90% of the presentation to the state people that were in was done by the students. The students did it. Stephanie said it right. The students just knocked their socks off with their expertise, their professionalism, their maturity. You can't do what they do and not be really solid, mature people. And they were absolutely incredible.
All right. Well, thank you
I
all
just
very
I
much.
just want to be clear. It's been thrown out several times. The school committee, the school's not doing enough to support this program, and it should just be noted that this was known since last January that there were no drivers, and nothing has been done until this fall. And there's been a pandemic. I understand that, but
Richard, you're
just
breaking
stop
up.
casting aspersions.
Richard, could you repeat that? Because you're breaking up.
What I was saying is, I just love it if we could stop casting aspersions at the administration over this program. You know, the town of Bolton's known about this since last January as well. So let's just try to figure it out without, throwing blame on one party or another. Let's just try
No
to
one's
get it
trying
to
to throw
work.
blame, Rich. I'm
And,
just
and to
saying,
be
it's been a
frank,
known- it's been a known problem for the years.
Don,
for a
please
year,
let him
and it's been
finish.
It's been a known problem for a year, and it's the school district's obligation to fix it. And we've offered to help in many ways.
Okay.
well, it's a tough year. We should probably try to be a little more creative.
All right. Thank you.
I don't think casting aspersions is helping. That's all I'm saying.
All right. Thank you. We're going to go on to the next topic. That is a discussion on the status of the Neshoba Regional School District Audit Advisory Committee. Jason, you want to start this one off?
Yeah, so, new selectman, still trying to learn the ropes here. Did some reading in I guess it's the Neshoba Regional School District Agreement. And in there, I think it's section 11. Actually, I sent it out to you guys a little bit late. I didn't think to send it out to you. Hopefully you got it in a reasonable time frame. But basically, I want to share my understanding with you guys, and I'd appreciate it if you gave me feedback and we can kind of talk about this as a team here. So it sounds like this audit advisory committee is required as part of the regional agreement. It sounds like it's a pretty important committee. So from the highest level, the role of the committee is to review the district's financial reporting process, the annual audits, both financial and compliance. And as a select board member, I'd like to help ensure that this committee is functioning properly, so that it can help advise me and empower me in the decision that I'm asked to make. So I did actually receive an email from the school committee today at 3 p.m. So I can convey what was shared with me. And it sounds like the school committee has put this on the 12/16 school committee agenda. So it sounds like it will become, there will be a discussion about it. I don't want to speculate about what they'll be talking about. But basically, I'd like to ask the other Tri-Town board members their experiences with this committee and the role that someone like myself can expect it to play. Thank you.
I'll confess to, well, I've read what the regional agreement says about the audit committee, and that wasn't very helpful in terms of understanding what they're supposed to do. It could be interpreted very narrowly, or it could be interpreted very broadly, and I don't know what past practice has been. My understanding is that there's only one person on it's a 4-person board, one person designated from each town, plus one person designated from the school committee, and only the school committee position is filled right now. That's my understanding. Beyond that, I don't have anything to offer except the suggestion that perhaps at a future meeting, we ask for we try to find people who are either on the audit committee now or were on the audit committee to come and address us and inform us as to what actually goes on there.
Yeah. So what I'm learning, I mean, that sounds like an excellent idea. We really need to build consensus here, and maybe we can influence how the committee helps us, because I talked last meeting about financial metrics and wanting to understand how we're doing, and I really haven't gotten that. There's been some information, but it sounds like, at least what appears to me, is that this is the type of committee that is going to play some type of role in understanding the day-to-day operational performance of the budget, and especially I don't want to armchair quarterback this, but now would be like a really nice time to have that data, and that's not where we're at. But the reality is that I think this is something I'm asking. I think we're all going to ask to invest in this, and I know it'll be time. We'll have to appoint members, but it feels to me like this would be very valuable.
All right, Don?
As I recall, Mr. Chairman, one of the functions of the Audit Advisory Committee is to hire the auditor, advertise for it, interview and hire the auditing firm.
Okay, but that position, okay, let me go to Mr. Eckel again, because I'm confused how that function's been filled if the committee's hasn't been functioning, but go ahead, Mr. Eckel.
Thank you for recognizing me. So I was on the finance committee, as I mentioned earlier, before I joined the school committee, and we have a sitting member as part of the audit advisory committee. My understanding is their role is solely to oversee the audit of the school district, and there's no day-to-day operational oversight. In fact, none of the select boards have any oversight over the day-to-day or operational finance questions over the schools. That's solely the purview of the school committee. If they want to know something, I'm on the Budget and Warrant Committee. Please email me, call me. I'm happy to answer any questions. But I don't think you'd want me going to a Lancaster Select Board meeting asking questions of your town administrator.
No, but the audit committee is independent. The Neshoba Regional District Audit Committee is independent of the school committee. It's a separate committee in the regional agreement.
That's right. That's right. In Stowe, we have we voted a person to be part of that committee. So if they're not meeting, you should probably go to those members and ask them to meet. They only meet to review the audit. They don't look at the operational finance.
But if I go to the Neshoba Regional website, it says there's 4 positions and only one of them is filled right now. So the committee does, from what
I can't speak for.
It doesn't appear they have a quorum right now.
So my understanding is that, my understanding is that the Lancaster position wasn't filled, but I mean, this might have been like 6 months ago. Maybe that's been resolved, but I know that Stowe has voted to fill that position. That's all. That's my only.
Go ahead, Jason.
Yeah, I'm not here to point fingers or any of that. It's something that I learned. It's something that looks like it's valuable. And, it definitely, I'm not looking to get involved in the day-to-day operations. I want to ensure that, whatever the intent was of this agreement, which looks important, shall review the district's financial reporting processes and annual audits, both financial and compliance, establish an understanding of the district's financial reporting system through meetings and interviews. All of those things, they seem incredibly valuable, at least to me as a selectman. And I want to figure out what I can do to play a positive role in getting this committee formed. And I can't do it alone. That's why we're here at this meeting. And I'm hoping to build consensus with everyone here so that we can believe that it's valuable and work within the parameters of the system to get it set up.
Well, if you'll look to find people in Lancaster who formerly served on the committee and invite them to the next Tri-Town, I will try to do the same here in Bolton. And we'll just try to make it an agenda item for the next Tri-Town meeting. Okay.
Works for me.
Any other comments or questions?
I don't have the document in front of me, but is this audit supposed to be done on a yearly basis?
I assume all audits are on an annual basis.
Do we know when the last audit was done?
I don't know. I do know the last audit that is posted on the website is from fiscal year 16 for the school district. Now, I assume there have been audits since then and they just haven't been posted, but I don't know that as a fact.
But, well, I think that's one thing we should also try to find out, because if they haven't done the audit on a yearly basis, I think they're in violation of the regional agreement, are they not?
I do not know, but I see Mr. Eckel has his hand up, so I will throw a question to him about, can he get the audit results for the recent years posted on the school district website? Mr. Eckel?
I'm sure I'd be happy to find that for you. I'm surprised to you to find out that only the 2016 one is posted. I'm hoping that's an oversight. But I believe it's statutorily required that you have an audit every year, specifically of the E&D fund. So perhaps it's just documentation that needs to be updated, but I'll find out for you.
You'll find, I'm sorry?
I will find it out for you.
Thank you.
And I'll report back
Thank you.
through the Stowe selectmen.
Okay, thank you. Are we done with that topic? Good. Discussion on DOE Regulation 41.04 and Department of Education. Is that what DOE is? Okay. About municipal representatives and regional school district collective bargaining. You're going to have to bring me up to date on what this issue is, because I can't figure it out.
So part of this is a learning process. Maybe we'll learn together. So all of my questions have stemmed from my meetings to start to meet with the school committee. And, part of those conversations were to, hey, there's a whole bunch of information on the website, go check it out. So that's where all of these conversations are coming from, is that I've done the homework, that at least tried to. So this regulation, and it also includes, it kind of parallels, and I'm learning here, so I'm expecting you, Don, to correct me. MGL 150E. Basically, what I understand it to mean is that there needs to be municipal representation in the collective bargaining within the school committee. So what I'm trying to learn about is what is our current municipal representation, and when is that municipal representation leveraged? So that's been basically the scope of all of this, and why I'm bringing it to Tri-Town is I've asked, my questions started on November 18th, and I'm not here to cast blame. I just don't feel like I've gotten good answers. So I'm not here to say that's a bad thing, other than I think that we should care about this. I think that there's a lot of collective bargaining that's going on, and I think it's important that we all know what our plan is, who our municipal representative is, and kind of how we approach it. Because I think that we need to make sure to follow the process and have rigor in what we do. So I did receive an email today at 3 p.m. from the school committee. And one thing, again, I'm sorry for not having it organized. I want to read one statement in that email from the school committee that I think is relevant and will help me and maybe help us understand what's going on, which is, and this is their words, according to our attorney, we were not required to include a town official for an MOU citing, the role of the municipal representative. The municipal representative shall serve as a member of the school committee on all matters related to collective bargaining by the regional school district. The municipal representative may serve on the school district bargaining team, if any, if selected by the school committee to be a member of subcommittee. So why am I reading that? My questions to the school committee, when I saw agenda items that dealt with collective bargaining, I asked the question, is there the municipal representative? And the answer that I think I'm getting back is that a municipal representative is only needed for certain collective bargaining and not all. And in maybe some of these instances, whether it's, preparation or anyway, I don't need to kind of get into the detail here. I'm imagining that you guys have much more information on this. I know Don has been involved at some level. So I just want to talk about it. I want to understand where we're at. I just want to ask those questions and get on the same page and figure out our plan forward. Thank you.
I'd be happy to answer that. I have been the municipal rep for the last two collective bargaining agreements with Unit A and Unit C. And the municipal rep is supposed to be a town administrator and is basically voted on by their colleagues. So Orlando and Bill Wrigley were delighted to volunteer me, and I was happy to do it. But I think, and I have been involved with all collective bargaining, so I want to make sure that there's no misconception that the school district has utilized a municipal rep as the way it should be. I think what you're referring to, Rich, is when you talk about the MOA, that's not collective bargaining, that's impact bargaining, which is very different. And the municipal rep does not have a role to play in impact bargaining, only collective bargaining.
Yeah, so question on that. Maybe I'm mistaken, but when I see the school committee agenda and it talks about executive session, I don't know if I saw impact bargaining on there. I think it only references collective bargaining. Maybe I'm mistaken.
Yeah, I can't speak to how the school committee posts their agenda, but I do know that from everything I've been told and everything I know, that MOA was done as part of impact bargaining, because what it was to address, and I only know this from what's obvious publicly. No one has told me anything that's gone on in executive session, nor should they. But given the pandemic and the changes in the ways that teaching is performed, it's an impact to the working environment. And an impact to the working environment, any changes to working environment, working conditions is done via impact bargaining. The collective bargaining is to create the contract itself or to modify the contract itself. The impact bargaining is there's something that is proposed to be changed by management. And because management is proposing a change to the existing working conditions, the impact of that needs to be bargained with the union. And it is a very different process.
So what I'm hearing you say, and this will fold into the next item, and it may actually, overcome it a little bit. So the MOU that was done on, I think it was September 3rd, it's my understanding that was collectively bargained, but you were not there. And it sounds like what I'm hearing you say is that really wasn't collective bargaining, and that was impact bargaining, even though, there was, a lot of negotiation in there about money and about how things would work, but you're saying that's more impact and not collective.
Yeah, what I'm saying, again, I didn't write the agenda, so I don't know what it said. All I know is that if it was collective bargaining rather than impact bargaining, then the municipal rep should be involved. But it's my understanding is that it was not collective bargaining. It was bargaining the impact of the change in working conditions.
Okay.
Mr. Eckel?
I just wanted to encourage Mr. Allison, there's 4 reps in Lancaster that you can speak to. If you didn't like speaking to the chair, there's 3 other reps. One of them is actually on the Budget and Warrant Committee, and he could answer all these questions for you. If those people don't get back to you, you can ask your town administrator, and he can get you the answer. Or you can email the superintendent herself. There's numerous, you could email me. There's numerous avenues to find this information. So you're welcome to bring it up in a meeting like this. It just seems a little bit unnecessary. This is like
I'm
a
gonna
5-minute
take a
phone
little
call.
umbrage with that because I have done all of those routes, except coordinating with
Or an email.
other school committee members. I've been direct.
So why wouldn't you do that?
I-
Why wouldn't you talk to Joe Gleason? I know for a fact he has not heard from you. I suggest you send him an email and start a relationship with him, because he will get you those answers.
I'm listening to your feedback, and I will take your feedback. I've been directed to ensure that I follow proper communication channels, and that's been directions from the school committee, and I've been told that I need to make sure that I'm not just reaching out to all of these people, and I know it may not seem this way, but I'm actually trying not to ruffle feathers. I'm trying to follow appropriate paths.
About
So
5 minutes.
that's the umbrage that I'm talking about, because I have asked all of those people except additional school committee members from my town. And
Yes, that is the person you should be speaking with. As a parent, as a as a town official, do you work with those people? They're going to get you the
so what I'm
answers.
hearing you say is the school committee chair, who's from Lancaster, is not the right person for me to work with.
I'm saying if you're not getting the right answer from the chair, and I know she spent a considerable amount of time with you, you should talk to Joe Gleason. He can get you the answers you need to. I know he's waiting for you to reach out
I
to him.
didn't know that.
Because I asked him.
I didn't know that. So I will figure that out with your advice. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else on this topic?
Yeah. So the only other thing is, I guess, and I will take this offline. I'm trying to understand it a little bit more. Don, it sounds like you have all of this under control. I just want to understand the process, make sure we're following it. And it sounds like maybe I just need to find the right person to ask.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I think also Jason may also be referring to, if you look at the school committee's agenda for today, it does have an executive session that discusses collective bargaining. So perhaps they might have worded it incorrectly, but the agenda says collective bargaining. So, maybe that was a mistake on their part, but
So Stan, that's exactly right. That's where my conversations have come up. My emails detailed exactly that. I mean, I could read through all of the timeline that I've written down, which is not valuable, but if it says collective bargaining and I've read that collective bargaining should be attended by an admission employee. Anyway, so yes, that's the point of my questions, and I will talk to Mr. Gleason about it.
Okay, thank you. The next topic takes us right back to Mr. Allison. It's a discussion on, did we cover the MOU, the September MOU?
So no, I do have one part of it that I'd like to talk about because I think it's relevant to other selectmen with respect to collective bargaining. And it was, I attended a school committee meeting and I reached out to the school committee chair, and I will, if I need to talk to somebody else, I will. But what I heard during the meeting, and actually this is thanks to Stan. Stan, you had talked about, you put me down this path with, that the remote model was collectively bargained. That's what the MOU says, is it was collectively bargained to have remote, and that was in the MOU that was shared with me. So what I listened in the school committee meeting is I heard two different points to that September 3rd MOU, which was the superintendent saying that is a living document that can be adjusted as needed. And then I heard from the school committee chair that it was an artifact that couldn't be changed. And I inquired about that, and I've not gotten an appropriate, I don't think I've really gotten an answer to my question that I asked, which one is it? I mean, if, for example, here's my question. For example, if the school district decides to go to a different model, does it then need to go to collective bargaining or impact bargaining, go back to the MOU? And, the answer that I got was, well, if we want to change the model, we'd have to have both parties feeling comfortable coming back to the table. So basically my question is, maybe it's to Don or maybe it's to the group. Is there going to be a collective bargaining or impact bargaining session necessary if the school decides that it wants to change its model? And will it need to do that?
Well, this person in the group has no idea what the answer to that is. Mr. Eckel, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I was raising it before just to talk about the collective bargaining angle about this. So you need to look beyond just the headline that there's a collective bargaining thing on the agenda. There's a specific reason. You'll notice it's to discuss strategy. So that doesn't mean there's collective bargaining going on. It means that the school committee is discussing strategy. I bet you Orlando could explain this more to you because he probably knows more than I do about it. But there's really three reasons, and that's the specific reason. And there's no reason to have any of the town administrators involved in that.
Well, that's a curious comment at the very end, because Why would you bring the administrators in only after you've decided the strategy?
I suggest you talk to your town administrator about that. He can probably explain better than I can.
All right.
I'm relatively new.
All right, I'll take that offline since it's just me. All right, are you going to lower your hand, Mr. Eckel? Oh, there you go. Thank you. Okay, Jason, you want to wrap this up?
Yeah, last item, basically I heard from the school committee today at 3 p.m. And they did provide some information. And also I've got the information about the audit advisory committee. So I think there is going to be more avenues for me to get, some of the questions answered that I have about the financial metrics. And just to reiterate, whomever's on this call, the reason I'm asking these questions is because I'm going to be asked to vote for 65% of Lancaster's budget to be put toward the schools. And I want to make sure I'm making the right decision. So I'm trying to do all of this to ensure that when that question comes to me, that I have a full understanding of all of the process that's gone into place and be able to answer to the best of my ability. So I'm gonna offer to table this one to another time. I'm optimistic that maybe we'll get I'll get some different conversations going with some different people and be able to get more information that I'm looking for. So
Okay.
that's all I have. Thank you.
Yeah, items. A member of the audit committee.
Certainly.
And Mr. Chairman, just to remind you of the process for an appointment to the Audit Advisory Committee, it's a joint appointment
Okay.
between advisory.
Yeah. So administrator and talk about how we can go about this. I think I looked at the minutes from some of the meetings a number of years ago, and it looks like there was a position. I mean, this is like 2016, so it looks like there was somebody that was assigned, and maybe that didn't work out. Back at next meeting with Lincoln.
Okay.
And then there was one other item, the municipal employee that's involved in union negotiations. So is that, where are we on that, Don?
I am the municipal employee, and
Okay.
to the best of my knowledge, I have been involved in all collective bargaining sessions.
Great, good.
Okay. Mr. Eckel?
I just invite any of the Board of Selectmen that have any operational finance questions, reach out to your school committee members directly, or reach out to me. I'd be happy to talk to you about it. I did check with the superintendent and with the director of finance, and there's no questions that are currently in front of the school committee from any of the Board of Selectmen. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they're mistaken, but let's just stop saying things like, I want metrics and so forth when there actually isn't any formal request for those metrics.
Jason?
Yeah, I'd just like to respond that it very well may be true that there's no current questions out, but I did receive I think about a 2 or 3 page email today at 3 p.m. So I'd like an opportunity to go through all of that information. So while there may be technically no outstanding questions, I'd like to think that after I've processed all that there will be questions, and I will reach out to many different people to try.
Okay. That completes our agenda for this evening. Is there any outstanding logistical issues we should deal with, Don?
You need to agree upon a date for the next meeting, for the next
Yes.
tri-town meeting.
Yeah.
Obviously, if Stowe chooses to participate, then yes, it would be Stowe. Otherwise, it would rotate back to Lancaster if Stowe doesn't participate.
All right.
Well, then I would suggest we set a date and Stowe can decide whether it wants to participate or not. And if it chooses not to, then we'll let our colleagues in Lancaster from there. I think that's all we can do. You know, they've been very clear that they're only going to participate if there are only certain agenda items and not others. So I want to discuss. So let's folks to come if they want, but let's just do that.
I would, does Wednesday,
I think the first Wednesday in January was the only one committee meeting.
Yeah.
make a motion?
Make a motion that we have the next tri-town meeting on January 6th.
Vote for this?
It's just
Thank you.
Anytime, my pleasure.
All right, so, Mr. Eckel,
May I suggest that you put on the agenda that you want to talk about the rules of how the tri-town is conducted? You know, that was one request from the school committee.
I don't believe they made that request.
they actually didn't make that request. They requested that all be resolved before they ever attend another tri-town.
Perhaps you should try something different when something doesn't work.
Well, I don't know.
We can think about it.
It seems to work for a majority of people, and it certainly has worked to some degree successfully for 17 years now. So, you know, I would counter by saying and repeating what our chairman so well put in his letter. I mean, if the school committee would like to discuss this at a tri-town meeting on what they'd like to see different in a tri-town meeting, then by all means, they are certainly free to do that. But I think tonight worked just fine, as we have done in in all of the tri-town meetings, and certainly the last few. We stuck to the agenda, and I think it's a good forum. So I'm not quite sure what the issue is. You know, I think all we've heard is it needs to change, and I don't have any information as to what that is. What's the change, you know? So the school committee or Kathy or someone's more than free to add an agenda item to the January 6th meeting.
Yeah, by no means the agenda's reserved just for selectmen, so.
Yeah.
Mr. Eckel, you had your hand up and you took it down. Did you want to respond?
Not really, other than just say, like, let's just stop with the animosity and let's try to make this work. I think most people want this to work. And, you know, I think there's a more respectful tone, then I think you'll find that people will want to respond.
Okay.
I can tell you I want to as a private citizen, so.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much. I don't know what else to say except good night, everybody. Thank you. Have a
Good
good
night.
holiday. Stay safe. Bless you and your families during this holiday season. Good night.
Yes. Take care, everybody.
Good night. Thank you, Jenny.
Thanks, Jenny.